students, welcome to Abhigyan Academy. Let us discuss an important topic of your modern Indian history, that is your Indian National Congress. So, see guys, when you talk about Indian National Congress, the formation of Indian National Congress is itself a very important topic because after the formation of this INC as a political, as a platform, as a body, our Indian national movement came under a same platform, under a single roof under which the national movements were organized. So that is why the formation of Indian National Congress and its important sessions are very important for us. Okay. Now, if we talk about the formation of Indian National Congress, then this platform is very important for us because now our Indians have got a platform where we can express our angers, where we can express our demands in front of the Indian national movement. So now, when it comes to its formation, the Britishers that played an important role in this formation is A.O. Hume. So A.O. Hume, he was a ex-British civil servant who helped the Indian leaders for the formation of Indian National Congress. That is why the role of A.O. Hume is very important. Now, this Indian National Congress was formed under the leadership of some important nationalist leaders, and these leaders were Dadabhai Nauroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, Badruddin Tayyabji, Umesh Chandra Banerjee. These leaders were in continuous negotiation with the British government, and these leaders have negotiated for such kind of platform in India so that Indians can express their demands in front of the British. And this is how, with the contribution of these moderate leaders, our Indian National Congress was formed. Now, if we see about this Indian National Congress and the formation, then their policies and demands were different. Okay, the policies and demands were different for different leaders. Like if we talk about Dadabhai Nauroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, Badruddin Tayyabji, Umesh Chandra Banerjee, their demands were moderate in nature. But later, when we will talk about Bal Gangadhar Tilak, then we will have Any Besant. These leaders were extremist leaders. Their demands will be different. Okay, so demands of this nationalist leader under the Indian National Congress will be different along with the different leadership. Okay, so this is why this INC is very important. Another thing is that the president of this Indian National Congress session, there was a rule about the presidents of this Indian National Congress that the president will always be selected from a region outside the host location. It means if the Indian National Congress session was held in Bombay, then the president of that session, of that Bombay session, will be outside from Bombay. Okay, so this is the rule that if there is a session in that location, for example, I said Bombay, then the president of that session will be different from Bombay. It means he will be outside from the region of Bombay. Okay, so now let us see that the important sessions of Indian National Congress. So see, the Indian National Congress was formed in 1885 in the month of December. And after this, every year there will be an important session of Indian National Congress in different parts of India. And every year there will be different presidents. Sometimes there will be the same president for 2 or 3 times. So every year there will be continuous sessions in different locations of India. So we will discuss in this video about some important sessions of Indian National Congress and about some important presidents of Indian National Congress. So see, the first session of Indian National Congress was held in which place? Bombay. Okay, the first session was held in Bombay. Actually, it was about to held in Pune, but due to some emergencies, epidemic type of emergencies, the decision was changed and it was decided that the first session of Indian National Congress will be held in Bombay. And see, I said that the rule will be like that. If the host location is Bombay, then the president has to be outside from Bombay. So it was presided by Umesh Chandra Banerjee. Okay, so he did not belong to the region of Bombay. So the first session of Indian National Congress was held in the month of December in Bombay. Okay, and it was presided by Umesh Chandra Banerjee. Then the second session after 1885, next year 1886, I said that every year the session will be held in different parts of India. Okay, now after this 1886, the second session of Indian National Congress was held, and this session was held in Calcutta, and this time the session was presided by whom? Dadabhai Naoroji. Okay, so the second session that was held in Calcutta, it was presided by Dadabhai Naoroji. Now let's come to the third session. Okay, so after 1886, there will be the third session that will be in 1887. And in 1887, this session was held in Madras, and this was presided by the first Muslim president of Indian National Congress, that is Badruddin Tayyabji. Okay. So he was the first Muslim president. Okay. So in the Indian National Congress, the third session is also very, very important, like the first and the second session. Why third session was important? Because it was presided for the first time by a Muslim president. Okay. Then we have our fourth session 1888 that was held in Allahabad. And this fourth session is also equally important for us because for the first time this session was presided by a non-Indian, okay, by a European, okay. So this session was presided by George Ulay, who was the first non-Indian president, okay. So 1888 Allahabad session was presided by a non-Indian for the first time, and 1887 the Madras session was for the first time presided by a Muslim president. Okay, so these are the first four sessions that is very, very important. Okay, first is very, very important if it is associative. Now among the Indian leaders, the growth nationalism is very much important when it comes to the Indian national movement. So by 1896, what will happen? The nationalism will be in its peak. The growth of nationalism will be higher among the leaders. So 1896, the president of this session, President Rahimutullah Sayani, then Rabindranath Tagore, in this 1896 session, he for the first time have sung the Indian song, that is your Vande Mataram. Okay, so in this 1896 Calcutta session, Rabindranath Tagore for the first time have sung this Vande Mataram song, and this session was presided by Rahimutullah Sayani. Okay, this Rahimutullah Sayani is very much important because this session is very much important for us, because during this session Rabindranath Tagore have sung this Vande Mataram for the first time. Okay, because during this time the nationalism was growing among the leaders of India. Then 1899 we have our Lucknow session that was presided by Ramesh Chandra Dutt, and this actually marked the demand for a permanent fixation of land revenue. What was happening? The British have imposed their own land revenue policies in India, and this land revenue policies were very much exploitative in nature. Okay, our peasants, our poor peasants and farmers were highly exploited by the Britishers, and that is why our Indian leaders were demanding for a permanent fixation of this land revenue so that they cannot change according to their wishes. Okay, so in this session of Lucknow 1899, there was a demand for the fixation of the land revenue. Okay, and this session was presided by R.C. Dutt. Okay, then we have our 1909. In 1909, another important session held in Calcutta, and it was presided by a very important leader, that is Dinshaw Wacha. We have also read about this in the moderate leadership. The Dinshaw Wacha is a very important moderate leader. Now, for the first time, Gandhiji appeared on the Congress platform. See, if we see the background of Gandhiji, then Gandhiji, before coming to India, okay, before coming to India, that is in 1915, Gandhiji came to India. Before this, Gandhiji was in South Africa. Okay, he went there to practice law. He was there. He stayed in South Africa for many years, and in 1915 he came back to India. So that is why after this, in 1916, this year, I mean 1901 Calcutta session. So this time, for the first time, Gandhiji appeared on the platform, but for permanently, Gandhiji came to India in 1915. Okay, because he was in South Africa. He was there to practice law in South Africa related to a case of Dada Abdullah. Later, he came to India and he joined the Indian national movement. Okay, and after then, though, we all know that what was the contribution of Gandhiji. Now, after this 1905, that is your Banaras session. Banaras session is very much important because this time Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he presided this session, and this 1905 time period is very much important because during this time the Britishers were trying to divide the region of Bengal. It means the Britishers have brought the Bengal division plan. Okay, the division of Bengal division plan, and it was brought by Lord Curzon. It was brought by Lord Curzon. So basically, this Britisher, Lord Curzon, have given this Bengal division plan, and they have decided to divide Bengal into two parts, Western Bengal part and Eastern Bengal part. And this division was actually on the basis of religion. But Britishers have said the official statement from them was for administrative convenience, but their hidden agenda was divide and rule. So our Indian leaders were completely against this Bengal partition plan, and they have resisted against this Bengal partition plan. So during this movement, during this session, there was this proclamation, formal proclamation of Swadeshi movement against the Bengal partition plan. Okay, Swadeshi movement was actually launched against the Bengal partition plan of Lord Curzon. So 1905 Banaras session is important, which was presided by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. During this time, there was a formal proclamation of the Swadeshi movement. Okay. Now see the great divide and reunification. Now see what was happening among the Indian leaders during the Indian national movement. Actually, there were two categories of leaders. If we see broadly, there were two divisions. Okay, among the Indian leaders, there were two categories of leaders. One were the moderates, and another were the extremists. Okay, so initially in the national movement, these people will come first, and in the national movement later this extremist will join the movement. So in the national movement, these leaders were divided into two broad categories, moderates and extremists, and their strategies for the national movement were also different. Okay, the moderates will follow a negotiation policy to pressurize the British government for their demands. And the extremists, they were not at all in this negotiation phase. They were like direct demands should be placed in before the British. Okay, they did not believe in the policy of appeasement. They did not believe in the policy of negotiation. So the strategies of these moderates and extremists were different. So during this Bengal partition plan also, when I said the Swadeshi movement was launched, during this time also what was happening, these leaders, moderates and extremists, had their different strategies towards the Swadeshi movement. Okay, so moderates and extremists, they had followed the different strategies for this Swadeshi movement also. Due to their different strategies, there was actually no unity during this moment. There were growing differences between the moderates and extremists during the time of Swadeshi movement because their strategies were different. They were following some different strategies. Okay. Now, if we see that during the time of 1906 Calcutta session, because 1905 Swadeshi movement is going on, and the differences were also emerging between the moderates and the leaders about their strategies, the different strategies. Now, during the time of this 1906 Calcutta session that was presided by Dadabhai Naoroji, so he adopted 4 resolutions. Okay, he adopted 4 resolutions for the Indian National Congress. That is the Swaraj. Swaraj means we will produce our own things. It means nationalist. We will boycott the foreign goods. Okay. Then boycott of the foreign goods at that is Swaraj. Swaraj means in a broader level, it means self-rule. We can rule our own country. We don't need any assistance from a foreign party. That is your Swaraj means self-rule. Okay. Then we will boycott the British goods and services. We will produce our own thing that will be Swadeshi. Swadeshi means the nationalist things, and nationalism means nationalist things means every sector, goods and services. Okay, it means we will develop our own education. We won't take help of the British education. We will develop or establish our own education. So it means they are now talking about boycotting the British goods and services, and now they are talking about the self-reliance. We will become self-reliant. Okay. Now, after this, the differences emerge between the moderates and the extremists, and this differences reach its peak during the time of 1907 session of Surat. Okay, this differences reached its peak during the time of 1907 Surat session that was presided by Raj Bihari Ghosh. Okay. So during this session, what happened in this 1907? The differences between these two parties it reached its peak, and there was a division between these two leadership. Okay, these two groups. Okay, now there was a division between these two groups, moderates and extremists, and the extremists were expelled from the Indian National Congress. Okay, so that is why we consider this Surat session as the Surat split. Okay, we consider this as the Surat split. Surat split means the division between the moderates and the extremists, where the extremists were expelled from the session. And during this time, the most important extremist leader was Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was the most popular extremist leader during this time period. Okay, next session is your 1911 Calcutta session. This time, for the first time, there was a recital of Jana Gana Mana, and this session was presided by B.N. Dhar. Okay, 1915 Bombay session presided by S.P. Sinha, and this time constitution altered to readmit the extremists. I said that extremists were expelled from the Indian National Congress, and during this time they have decided that we should unite. Okay, we should include the extremists. So after this, the 1916 session of Calcutta, the extremists and moderates were again re-emerged. Okay, they were reunited. Okay, so they were reunited in the 1916 of Lucknow session, which was presided by A.C. Majumdar. Okay, so during this session there was a unity between the extremists and the moderates, and also a very important pact that is called as Lucknow Pact was signed with the Muslim League. As we all know that this Muslim League was demanding for a separate nation, that is Pakistan. So during this time, there were some negotiations between Indian National Congress and Muslim League, and Indian National Congress have signed this Lucknow Pact with the Muslim League. So 1907 there was a split, and 1916 there was a again reunion. Okay. Now after this, some important session after that, 1910 Allahabad session that was presided by Sir William Wedderburn. Okay, Sir William Wedderburn. This was also a non-Indian, a European who presided this session. 1917 Calcutta session, very important from your exam perspective. Why important? Because during this session, for the first time, a female president will preside the session. Okay, so 1917 Calcutta session, for our first time, a female president will preside the INC, and that female president was Annie Besant. Okay, she was not an Indian leader, she was an Irish leader, but the first Indian women president, when it will be asked, that will be later she will preside. Okay, but now if the question comes that who was the first female president of INC, then that will be your whom? any basant. Okay, so 1917 Calcutta session. Then 1918 Bombay session, who presided Syed Hassan Imam, convened to deliberate the contentious Montague-Chelmsford reform. So this Montague-Chelmsford reform, this came during this time that was talking about some kind of concessions to the Indians, but it was not at all satisfying for the Indians. Okay, after this 1919, that is Amritsar session, president was Motilal Nehru, and during this time, against this Montague Chelmsford reforms, and your other things were also there, and by this time Gandhiji also entered into Indian political struggle. So during 1920, there was a movement going on, that is your non-cooperation movement. Okay, non-cooperation movement was going on, led by Gandhiji and all. So this was the time period when these issues were going on, and Indian National Congress decided that the non Congress non-cooperation movement and Khilafat movement will be merged, means Hindus and Muslims unity will be restored. Okay, now if we see, Annie Besant became the first woman president, not the first Indian president. Okay, Indian president, lady president will come later, that is Sarojini Naidu. This I will discuss. So see, 1920 Calcutta session presided by Lala Lajpat Rai. Here during this time 1920, as I said that 1920 non-cooperation movement will be going on. So the resolution for this non-cooperation movement was passed in 1920 during the time of Lala Lajpat Rai's presidency. Then 1920, again a special session will be held because 1920 non-cooperation movement was going on. So this session was held in Nagpur. So here, if you see the president, C.V. Raghavachari, reconstitution of the working committees on the linguistic basis, and during this time, what will happen? The issue between Muslim League and INC will be there, where Muhammad Ali Jinnah left the Indian National Congress. Then 1922, your Gaya session, where the leaders broke away to form the Swaraj Party. During this time, a new party will be formed under the same platform of Indian National Congress only. This party was known as the Swaraj Party. Then you will have your 1925 Belgaum session. Belgaum is in Karnataka. This session is very, very important because this is the only session where Mahatma Gandhi presided. Okay, so Gandhiji presided only one session, that is your Belgaum session 1924. So only one session was presided by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Now if we see 1924, that is the first Indian women president. Okay, first Indian women president to preside the Indian National Congress was the 1925 Kanpur session presided by Sarojini Naidu. But when it comes to the first women president of Indian National Congress, then that will be whom? Annie Besant. Okay, first Indian president was Sarojini Naidu. Then 1927, your Madras session, that was presided by M.A. Ansari, that is Mohammad Ansari. Resolutions against Simon Commission boycott and use of Indian troops aboard and adoption of Purna Swaraj resolution. See, 1927 session is important because during this time what happens, a commission will be there from the British side, that is your Simon Commission, to actually look after the constitutional developments in India. But what was the issue of this commission? This commission did not include any Indian members. So it was considered as an insult for the Indian leaders that this commission did not include any Indian leaders. So that is why this time period they are talking to boycott the Simon Commission. Okay, that came to India during this time period. Then your 1928 Calcutta session also now presided by Motilal Nehru. During this time, there will be the formation of All India Youth Congress. Okay. Then 1929, very, very important session, that is your Lahore session presided by Jawaharlal Nehru. During this time, the Purna Swaraj resolution was passed. Okay. So now the civil disobedience movement will be launched. We have decided that we will celebrate 26 January next year. It is 1930, 26 January will be celebrated as Independence Day for India. Okay, so this Lahore session is very, very important from your exam perspective. Now 1931, for the first time, now we will be talking about the fundamental rights. Okay, so 1931, the Karachi session that was presided by Vallabhbhai Patel. Here two very, very important historic resolutions will be passed. One will be based on the fundamental rights. Next will be based on the national economic program. Okay, national economic program and fundamental rights they are talking about. They are passing resolution for the first time on fundamental rights and national economic program. Then 1924 Bombay session where Rajendra Prasad have presided, and now the Constitution of Congress have been amended. It means some changes were brought. 1936 Lucknow session, again Jawaharlal Nehru have presided, and now this Jawaharlal Nehru was a socialist leader. Okay, his inclination towards socialism we can see in the post-independence time period also. Like you can see the 5-year plans and all. This 5-year plans was actually based on the socialist economy. So this Jawaharlal Nehru was very much inclined towards the socialist ideas. So during this time also in INC many socialist ideas were introduced. 1937 Fezpur session. What was happening before this? The INC sessions were basically held in the village city area. Okay, so the village areas were not covered. The INC sessions were held in the city area. So during this time, 1937, it was presided by Jawaharlal Nehru. For the first time now in a village, this session was held. Okay, then your 1938 and 1939 is important because this 1938 and 39 sessions were presided by Subhash Chandra Bose. So Subhash Chandra Bose presided 2 sessions of Indian National Congress, that is 1938 Haripura session and 1939 that is Tripuri session. After this he left Indian National Congress and he formed his own party due to his differences with the Indian leaders in INC. He formed his own party, that is Forward Bloc. Then 1940 session, very, very important, presided by Abul Kalam Azad, first education minister of independent India. He authorized the civil disobedience movement. During this time, the civil disobedience movement was authorized by Abul Kalam, but civil CDM was held in 1930 also. Just point it is mentioned here. So 1940 president was Abul Kalam Azad. His contribution is very much in the education. Okay, so he was the first education minister of independent India. 41 to 45 कोई कांग्रेस का सेशन नहीं हुआ था. This period was marked by important events in Indian history, like we have Quit India movement. This is Royal Indian Navy revolt, INA trials, then constitutional negotiations were going on for the independence. Okay, so that is why during this time there were no session. The last session of Indian National Congress was held in 1946, that is Meerut. Okay, and it was presided by JB Kripalani. Okay, so he was the last president of Indian National Congress. After this no session was held. So Indian National Congress had its last session in 1946 in Meerut, that was presided by JB Kripalani. Okay, so now if we see 1885 it was fought and 1946 the last session was held. Okay, these are some of the important locations where Indian National Congress held its session. Okay, so go through this video and try to memorize or study the important sessions, because the role of the leaders is very important when it comes to our Indian national movement. Their contribution in the independence struggle, very, very important. So go through the video. I hope this video is helpful for you, because Indian National Congress and its sessions are very, very important. Okay, and the leaders are also very, very important. Okay, so if you have any doubt regarding this topic or regarding your courses and admissions, do call us. Okay, thank you.